So the software that we're going to be looking at today, Microsoft Dynamics 365 is the base, and then we power it with Yavion ProBatch, that's a set of extensions for Business Central, which offer a comprehensive financial and manufacturing solution that is suitable for biotech, chemical, cosmetics, food, med tech, or medical device and pharmaceutical manufacturers. Since today's focus is on quality assurance, I want to point out what we're specifically going to be talking about capability-wise. The first thing we're going to talk about are inspection plans. So we're going to show you how you can set up and execute inspection plans for inbound materials, work in process, as well as finished goods. A part of those inspection plans, one of the things that you can capture is lot-specific variables such as potency or concentration or virulence. What's really nice about having the quality module built into the Business Central core system is that we'll automatically put lots on hold if they fail an inspection, if when you receive them, they need to be inspected, if they need to be quarantined. All too often we see a quarantine section as it's just a corner in the warehouse, nothing nothing controlled. When it's part of the system, you will not be able to select something that you're not supposed to select. We'll also take a look at how we generate certificates of analysis and also talk about how we can set up and execute long-term stability testing. So specifically what we're going to do today, we're going to set up an item, we're going to assign features to that item, there's lot-specific variables. We're going to create an inspection plan, we're going to execute that inspection plan, we'll show you sampling, how that works, for the items to be tested. We'll generate certificate analysis. We'll also show how electronic signatures work. We have an upcoming compliance webinar that's going to be next month where we'll dive more into the audit logs and the electronic signature capability, but it is a fundamental part of the quality module too. So, and then finally, we'll explain how stability testing works. So Marcus, if you want to share your screen, we can get into the product.
I think I'm sharing. Is that? Yep, there we go. All right, so just encourage you, if you've got questions, feel free to put that in the question chat, and I will follow up, or George will follow up with questions as we go. Okay, so let's just look at inventory items first. And a lot of the system, obviously, we're not covering today, but just want to pull up a single inventory item here for us to take a look at. So this is paprika, happens to be a food product, but it really could be anything. I want to highlight a couple of components here around the item setup that we're going to see as we go through the demo today. First thing I do want to talk about is the ability to do lot serial tracking. And I'm going to open this up because this is going to be sort of the basis of what or how the lot status is working. So this particular item, I am lot tracking it. We can do serial tracking, lot tracking, and or package tracking, but I'm just doing lot tracking today. And what you'll notice is I have the lot tracking set up throughout the system. So what that means is anytime I touch an item, so it could be receiving, shipping, warehousing, consumption, output, et cetera, I need to track a lot number on it. So just know that that's happening as we go. The other thing is that down here at the bottom, I've got the ability to set some statuses around the lot. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to set up rules to determine when and where can I interact with this particular item or the lot, actually, based on the status of the lot. And during the configuration of the system, we can set up whatever statuses you want, whatever vernacular you have for your organization. I happen to be using the concept of release, quarantine, blocked, et cetera, but you could call them whatever you want. But rules then in the system allow us to limit the ability to use a particular lot, again, based on the status. And as we go through an inspection process, what you're going to notice is the status of the lot is going to be updated and changed based on those activities that are happening. Okay, so that's the first piece of it. The next piece is to look at what we call features. And features really can be anything associated with a particular item or a lot, and generally the output of a particular inspection process would update the value of a particular feature. So I've got food here. I'm doing an E. coli test that happens to be a Boolean type of a feature. I'm capturing moisture contact, so that's a decimal value. And then I'm just doing a visual inspection, which happens to be an option value. And with an option value, you can create whatever sort of labels you want there. What you'll notice is I'm assigning these features to an item, and then I can set some tolerances around target values as well as tolerances around those particular feature values. Once again, what we've got is a rules-based system that allows me to change the status of the lot based then on the outcome of a particular inspection. Okay, so this is sort of the basis of this. If I open this up, you'll notice that I've got all sorts of different things that I can do for inspections. Inspections can be calculated values. So if you're performing multiple of tests and you want to calculate a value, that can all be done as well. So really anything your heart desires in terms of setup can be set up as a feature, again, associated with a particular item and then assigned to the lot. Okay, next thing we're going to look at is actually an inspection plan. And an inspection plan, in essence, is telling me where in a process do I want to perform an inspection and what sort of inspections do I want to occur. Okay, so at the top here, various places or things that I can perform an inspection on. It could be an item, it could be a piece of equipment, it could be a base item. So we don't need an inspection plan per item. We could group those for like items, et cetera, but that's the essence there. I can also do inspections that would be associated to a particular customer or customer-vendor group. So if you've got more stringent restrictions for a particular customer, or they want additional tests or different tests to be performed, you could do that for the customer. Same thing you could do for the vendor. Okay. I'm going to go down here to the bottom. There's more we could do, but for sake of time, I'm going to focus this a little bit. These bold sections then inside this inspection plan. So this is for my paprika here. What I have the ability to do then is to determine where in the process do I want to perform an inspection. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up so that you can see we have the ability to set inspections in the receiving cycle, the sales cycle, the production cycle. So that could be a production order would be an inspection that happens at the end of the production process. Production order routing allows me to do inline inspection. So at the end of a particular step, I can perform an inspection. Okay? A couple other ones down here at the bottom. We've got the ability to do manual testing. We'll talk a little bit more about stability testing a little bit later. So what I'm saying here is for my smoked paprika, when I do a purchase receipt, I want to visually inspect the container. I want to check for moisture content, and I want to do an E. coli test. Okay, so that's the essence of what I have set up here. What you'll notice if I scroll to the right then, I have the ability to do additional tolerances here. So the tolerance for a particular outcome may or may not be set on the item. It also could be set at the inspection level. So in the case of more stringent requirements for a particular customer, I could have different inspection plans that actually have different tolerances associated with them. Okay, so pretty nuanced, if you will. Fairly detailed matrix actually can be created around this if you want to. In terms of sampling, we've got a couple of different ways to do sample collection. So we've got the ability to do fixed quantity. So in this case, I'm saying I just want one sample, and the inspection level is a lot at the top. So I'm going to get one inspection created or sample created for each lot number that I'm receiving in this case. If I had 2 lots, I'm going to get 2 samples then. So pretty simple. I can do a per package calculation. So in that sense, if I'm tracking both a lot number and a package on my receipt, even if I had a single lot, but it was in 4 different packages, I'd want to test a package on each lot. I also have the square root calculation, which would allow me to do some more statistical sampling if you want, particularly if you've got things that are liquids, that sort of thing. We can do some statistical sample size calculations in there. This would then allow me to set the increment of samples. So I can actually take multiple samples per lot if I wanted to, et cetera. So I can set this up as sort of as detailed as I want in that process. The next thing I'm going to look at here is if I have multiple samples, how do I actually want to calculate the value, in this case, per lot? So if I said I want to perform or take the temperature or moisture content, I want 4 samples of each lot, and then I'm going to take the average moisture content of each of those tests. Okay, so I can do sum, min, max, last value, et cetera. So I can do some calculations around there. I do have the ability to do some label printing, and I can print a label at the receipt that's going to give me the label for that particular item, package, etc. I can also do sample labels. So if you have the need to retain samples or just using a sample label in the inspection process, I can set that up on the inspection. Okay. All right. Next thing to note here is on a particular inspection plan, I can have multiple inspection locations or places that I want to do inspection. So I've got receiving, I'm going to do those three things. I have a manual inspection set up, and that's going to recheck moisture content. So maybe what happens is I have inventory that sits in the warehouse for a particular time interval. And at some point I say, well, you know what, I really want to just manually test this. So a manual test allows me to just create it on the fly. And then in this case, I'm just looking at moisture content. So more of a manual type process if I want to. Stability tests, as George alluded to, allow me to do interval testing. And what this does then here is I would set up an interval for how often I would want a retained sample to be tested. So maybe you take a sample and then for the next 6 years, 8 years or something like that, you're checking effective ingredients or something like that. You're looking at active ingredients. Is it, is performance or the formula degrading over time, something like that. So this allows you then to set up that interval, which is going to say, I want to do monthly testing on this. As long as I have that lot still on hand, I retained a sample, it's still going to be there. Every month, then I'm going to get a stability test that has to be done on that particular product. And you can set up the interval any way you want. So maybe monthly might be a little bit more. Maybe you do it quarterly or semi-annual or something like that. So you could set up whatever time interval you want for that process to happen. Okay, so inspection plan says, what do I want to test? Where do I want to test it? And what sort of test do I want to perform? Okay. All right, let's just put a purchase order in and see how this works in practical nature. So I've got a purchase order. I saved you for some data entry. I've got one created already. So this is a purchase order for my smoked paprika. Okay. I'm going to create a warehouse receipt. We're not going to talk about warehouse configuration at this point, but I'm creating a warehouse receipt to receive against that particular purchase order. Okay. On the line item, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to record my lot number, and I'm going to use 2024, and I'm going to do 0227-8. So it's my first lot for today that I'm receiving. I can record the number of packages, the packages if I want. I can require expiration dates on that item to be created or not created if I don't want to, production dates, external lot numbers, a lot of other things that I can track at the lot level. I'm just capturing a lot number and an expiration date at this point. Okay. All right. So I click close here. And what happens now, because I've recorded the lot number and I've requested that an inspection be created, what you're going to see here is that an inspection order has been created for that particular, in this case, object. So there's my smoked paprika. And you'll notice that it's created for that particular lot number. So in the setup, that's what I said I wanted to, that I wanted to inspect. Okay. From here, I have the ability to do actual value recording if I needed to. So do you want the operator, in this case, the person doing receiving, to be able to record the inspection or not? Now we can allow that or disallow it depending on what type of inspection it is. So if, for example, container, the visual inspection of the container, I want somebody in receiving to look at it. They said, yeah, the container is good. They can then complete that portion of the inspection. Okay. So when I open up actual value recording, this window can change, but what you'll notice is that I've got the ability then to record, the visual inspection, and it says it's fine. In this case, I'm not limiting the operator's ability to record the other components, but you do notice that it says sample 1 and sample 2 that were there. So it did, record and created the samples for me. We can hide a lot of these fields. So some people, if you want to do a blind inspection, so the operator just populates a value and isn't influenced by your targets, you can do that as well. In this case, I just happen to be showing them, but you certainly could remove that if you wanted to. Okay, I'm going to actually post this receipt. So what this is going to do now is it's going to update my perpetual inventory system with the purchase receipt, and we're going to go then into look at this item in inventory. All right, created a warehouse put away for me. We're not going to deal with warehousing at this point, but I'm going to look at my what we call inventory summary page. So my inventory summary page shows me all of my receipts, or all of my inventory. And I've got some visual indicators over here, and I've set up some rules, and it basically is saying if it's in QC or not released, it's going to be yellow. So it's yellow. There is the lot that I just received. It's in a QC status. So I initially had the lot set up as released. And then what I did is once it gets into an inspection process, it's going to flag it as a QC item. I do that for demo purposes. We could set up the initial status as QC, which is going to require it to go to the inspection process. So totally up to you in terms of how that gets set up. But it's in the receiving bin right now, and I've got 50 pounds of that particular item. Okay, so that's from a warehousing perspective. All right, let's now look at the actual inspection order that has been created. So let's open up my released inspection order, and I'm going to pull up the one for this particular item. So your lab tech or something like that would be able to pull up this released inspection order, and then they can actually perform then the tests that need to be done. So I'm going to record my moisture content, I don't know, 7%, let's say, and my E. coli test, it does not have E. coli, so I'm going to populate that as well. So no. So I'm going to populate both of those, and I'm going to click close. Up here at the top, I have some different statuses of the inspection itself. And if you have an inspection process that takes longer, or you're sending it out to the lab, et cetera, I can have a released inspection order, an inspection order that started, an inspection that's finished, and then an inspection order that's been finished. So really 4 different places there that I can perform or have statuses that are available for me. At each of those different statuses, I can change the status of the lot. So if I wanted to say QC means that it's in a QC hold, but the inspection process hasn't actually started yet. When you click start inspection, maybe I change the status to say in inspection. So that would be an indicator that everyone that looks at the lot knows, okay, well, the inspection process is at least started. It could then be in a finished inspection state, and then finished is actually going to finally resolve an ultimate state of the lot. So is it blocked? Is it, need to be reworked, returned, whatever it might be, but I can then change those based on those types of things. Okay. The other thing that I have the ability to do at this point is to actually create a certificate of analysis. So I'm going to create a certificate of analysis. And what that does now is it locks in the inspections results that I just had. Okay. What I'm saying is I wanted the moisture content to show up on my cert. I wanted the E. coli test to show up on my cert. The visual inspection of the receipt, I don't care about from a certificate of analysis perspective. So what you'll notice is that value was not passed to the certificate of analysis, okay? From here, I can print this. Depending on sort of the process that's involved, this certificate could have been for a customer, vendor, et cetera. It could have been for a shipment, depending on where that inspection took place. So the inspection could be prior to shipment, in which case I'm going to have other values associated with this from a customer perspective, but this is just a standard sort of out-of-the-box inspection. We can show the upper and lower tolerances. We could show the values if you wanted to, the target values if you wanted to. Up to you in terms of how this is displayed, but suffice it to say that's a in the certificate of inspection that's been, or certificate of analysis that's been created. The thing to note about this is I can create multiple certificates of analysis if I needed to. So for example, on that stability test scenario, or maybe I want to do a manual inspection of a product I have on hand. So I'm going to go out, I'm going to inspect it in 6 months again. For some reason, the moisture content has adjusted a little bit. I'm going to update then via an inspection the moisture content on that particular lot. I'm going to regenerate a certificate of analysis. I have record then of the prior certificates that have been created. So this is a document that's been created. It's not just sort of a report. It is a report, but it's more than just a report, if you get what I'm saying. So the locked in values of when it was created, who created it, et cetera, are recorded in the system. They also are included with this electronic signature. So George alluded to this a little bit, but what the electronic signature allows me to do is to put rules around the ability to change the certificate. So maybe there is a manual override that someone in the lab could do it. What the electronic signature would allow me to do is to lock it down, have to go through some sort of review process for a certificate to be changed. And then I'm going to have a full audit trail. Who changed it? When did they change it? what was the value before, what was the value after, et cetera. Okay, so that's the process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back to my inventory summary record. And what I want to show you at this point is that there's my smoked paprika, and you'll notice that the status now says QC finished. So everyone knows that the QC process is finished. I haven't maybe gotten results back yet. If I go to the released inspection order, I'm actually going to finish this for you. You can see this all the way through. So finish it. Yes, I want to finish it. No, I don't want to open it. And it's now closed. And if we go back to our our inventory summary, now you'll notice that the status is released because my inspection fell within the tolerances that I had. It didn't have E. coli, and then it's now in a release status, which means in my case, I can now consume it in the manufacturing process, or I can ship it to the customer. Okay. Features are recorded and tied to that lot. So off of the inventory summary window, I can go look at the specific values that have been evaluated on this lot. So I needed to look up something, accessibility right through the front end of here, the application, and I can look at those values if I needed to. Inspections can be redone. So if for some reason inspection was performed and you think the value was off, there was something off about the test or something like that, you actually can take that previous inspection order, create a new inspection off of it. So we call it a re-inspection. So you've got the audit trail of the first inspection and second inspection. Second inspection then can be done, reevaluate, the same sort of status updates on the lot rules still apply. This would then say maybe moisture content was 7.5% and that sort of thing, but then it would be in a re-inspection process and it would allow me to have an audit trail on that. Okay. All right. I do want to go to electronic signatures, and I want to just sort of talk about this a little bit. So part of the compliance area within Business Central with ProBatch allows us to put electronic signatures on it. And what electronic signatures do is, once again, it's a rules-based system that would allow us to put limitations on particular transactions that could be changed, as well as fields on a transaction that could be changed. Okay, so for example, actually, let's just talk about setup, and then I'm going to get into the rules. So on the setup, the compliance setup has a different password policy that's internal to Business Central. So what it is I'd have a user ID and password, obviously, to get into Business Central. I'm going to have the same user ID that's tied to the compliance, but I'm going to have some additional requirements around passwords. So that's how the electronic signature is actually recorded in the system. I have to type in my password, but it's not my user ID password that's set up in the system. I do have audit trail setups as well that can be done in here. And with an audit trail setup, what I can do is determine what tables as well as what fields do I want to record and include as part of an audit. So we can audit without requiring the signatures or approvals, or we could do both if you want to. So in this case, what I'm saying is I can look at inserts, modifications, and deletions of particular tables. In this case, I'm looking at my inventory item. And in this case, I'm saying I want to log all inserts, I want to log all modifications, and I want to log everything that gets deleted. If I wanted to record some values, so some fields in this case, I can then open this up and I can determine what fields do I want to log or not log. So, good example, lead time calculation. I don't know, maybe, in terms of item configuration, probably not a relevant field. Maybe you don't have to log that. What that just does is it, limits the amount of data that you're collecting and have to trudge through. If you want to audit everything, you can. But, again, sometimes it's just more minutia to look at if there's updates and you don't really care about them. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the electronic signature rules next. So, electronic signature rules. Okay, so what this allows me to do is to determine where and around what processes do I want electronic signature. So you'll notice that it's not just the master record. There's actually inventory posting processes if I want, jobs posting, lot number modifications. We do have the ability to make a change to a lot number if we wanted to, but we can put electronic signatures over that. the entire manufacturing process. So as I set up a BOM and a routing, do I want to review an electronic signature process around that? Purchasing, quality assurance, R&D, warehousing transactions, et cetera. So pretty much anywhere you'd want to set up a rule, you have the ability to do that. And then the rule itself is a configurable option. So as I said before, we can set conditions on the signature being required or not. So maybe, again, I don't care about a particular status of an item or something like that. We can set up rules or conditions on those. And then I can set up signers. So it could be a specific user, it could be a group of users that would be required to sign. It could be first available, something like that. Okay. So I can set up multiple rules and then set that up on the item itself. What I want to do is I'm actually going to go to an item, and actually I want to go to a feature, and I want to just at least show you where or how the rules show up. So this arsenic that I have here, I had a rule set up to require it, and so there is the audit trail to see that, you know, Marcus made the modification and Marcus also signed the review and approval. So a little redundant that I did it myself, but there would be the list of transactions or things that have happened around the item. And then in terms of an audit trail, I do want to show you this as well. So on my item, and I'm going to pull up my smoked paprika, and I have related history. There we go, audit trail entries. And what this allows me to do is, this is just the raw data, but this records, you know, what changes were made, who made it, what was the field before, the old value, the new value of the field, you know, again, what was changed. I'm recording a lot of data here, so there's a lot to look through, but that has the ability to get to what we need. So, all right, stability test, we talked a little bit about that again on the ability to set up a schedule, and then there's a process to run at the end of the month or weekly, or however you want to run those. If you want to do them weekly, to then determine which ones need a stability test run. Okay, so the process is still going to create an inspection order. The inspection order then can be evaluated by your lab techs, and then you're off and